Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. As you can see, we have an absolute legend on the show today. Shout out to Coach Jareem Dowling. Just finished up some work, hitting the bags, doing whatever he's doing over at 9 Round. Coach Dowling, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Yeah, I was hitting the bags. Coach Tang be hating, saying it's not really boxing. It's boxing for me.
Hey, that's right. You got to get the work in somehow. I mean, you're killing it over there. I see the Instagram stories and the Instagram posts. You're getting the work in for sure.
Absolutely.
So let me start off here. Now, you've been with Kansas State for the last chunk of change here in the last year or so, and you guys have already accomplished some incredible feats. I mean, the Elite Eight is one thing, but like you talk about the culture and the elevation around the program. I'm curious, how would you assess your first year with the program, and did it live up to expectations, or where are you going from here, I guess would be the first question.
Definitely. It lived up to, as Coach Tang would say, it lived up to God's expectation. Because that's how he leads us. You know, he leads us with the love and that God gives him, and he spreads it to us. And expectation is there's no ceilings here, you know, and that's how Coach Tang operates every day. And it's contagious the way he approaches the day. It's contagious of his mentality and his expectation for this program, this town, and this great university.
All right, Coach. So we're jumping back into things here. So I'm curious. Coach Tang talked about the goal of getting Kansas State to a global level, not just a national level, here recently at Big 12 Media Days for basketball. And I'm curious, with all the great things you guys have done, what would you say is the next step in that journey to get to the global level?
I would say just the international market. You know, Coach Tang has a lot of different heritage in his background, in his family background, and he has Indian in his background. He has Chinese, if I'm not mistaken, and he has the Caribbean in his background. You know, so we want to reach all those markets, and we want to turn those fans that might not have a team there into a Kansas freaking State fan.
That's what we'd love to hear. You know, it's also awesome to see like you guys going over to Israel and getting to experience that, as well as Abu Dhabi and a couple of different areas. It's awesome to see how fast the Big 12 is continuing to grow, as well as Kansas State. But I am curious. You know, we talked about internationality, and I know that you're a Virgin Islands. Is that where you're from, correct?
Absolutely. You got it right. You didn't say Jamaica.
Man.
Yeah, you didn't say Jamaica, so we're good.
Hey, I got you. Also, is that something comparable to what you'll feel in the Octagon of Doom when it's rocking? How you see Bill Snyder Family Stadium on Saturdays?
Absolutely. It starts with football. It starts at animal football. And what Coach Klein and his staff is doing over there, they're doing an amazing job. And Coach Kleiman, they do an amazing job, and we just feed off of them. You know, we support them, and they support us. And what they do, they set the standard, and we try to just match that, you know, with the fan engagement and all that type of stuff.
Well, I got to tell you, you know, it's different because they're different sports or different spots on campus, but there's so much solidarity between the two programs that I don't know if I've really seen anywhere else in the country. Like, obviously, you see basketball teams go out and support and football teams go out and support, but, you know, you guys are out at the tailgates, you're experiencing it, and then vice versa. You have a ton of support both ways. And I just want to commend you guys for that, because I think that's just the coolest thing.
It starts with our great leader, Gene Taylor, and President Linton. You know, they made some amazing hire. And first off and foremost is Coach Kleiman and Coach Tang. They're amazing human beings. They're better human beings than they are coaches. And that's why you see the camaraderie between both programs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am curious to stick with one more football question before we jump here. So we have a lot of great things happening on the football field and a lot of great things happening on the basketball court. Has there been a conversation, because it feels like both programs have been peaking? Obviously, you see big people, you know, you get a guy like Tyler Perry in the program, a guy like Arthur Kaluma in the program, and there's numerous people I could list. And then on the football aspect of things, you bring in a kid like Avery Johnson, there's some high-profile recruits coming in. Do you guys have that conversation with Coach Kleiman and his staff about, like, what can we all collectively do as a program to take Kansas State to that next level?
Honestly, I can't speak on that because, you know, Coach Tang and Coach Kleiman, they have their own relationship. I don't get the head coach privilege conversation, but you can see the level of players that they're recruiting, you know, national level players that are superstars. And we want to do the same thing, too, for our men's basketball program. Football is fun to watch. Howard and Avery together is a deadly combo. It's really similar to what Coach Tang envisioned for our basketball team is, which is to have 2 point guards on the floor at the same time. And Coach Kleiman is doing it in football. So it works, man. It works. I'm rooting for both guys. Both guys should be Heisman guys.
Oh, yeah. Hey, both guys are incredible, too. I mean, that's the thing that, like, it gets lost in the mix when you see a huge performance from a kid like Avery that Will kind of gets put on the back burner. But, like, you have two legitimate quarterbacks and you can tell how big their leadership is in that locker room.
You can't put a champion on a back burner. You know, I'm not in their locker room. I'm just speaking from the outside, but you can't put a champion on the back burner. Will is a Big 12 champion, and he's the man, and Avery is the man too. You can have more than one king, you know, and those two dudes are kings.
I love that answer, Coach. Now I'm curious to jump into the basketball side of things a little bit more. I know this is kind of a lame question that everybody asks because that's my due diligence having to ask it. What would you say your expectation is for this year's squad?
My expectation is to get to Arizona. That's what our leader wants, and we're going to work and we're going to strive every day to go 1-0 to do what we have to do to get to Arizona.
I love that. I love that, Coach. I know that's such a great goal as well. It feels like not only just the people you have buying in, but as players, as a group, as a whole unit, everybody's collectively buying in. And I know, like, when you see things like Shark Week, that's got to be just an absolute grind from what I've seen. So I'd ask you about this. How was this year's Shark Week? And I don't want to compare it to anything because every year is going to be different, but how did the guys do through Shark Week, hanging in there, swimming with the great whites?
Hey, first off, give a shout out to Alvin Brooks, associate head coach at Baylor. The Shark theme came from him, and Coach Tang is just so unselfish. Coach Tang once said, you can, two things you don't get in trouble for, and I hope I'm saying it right. You don't get in trouble for like copyrighting a pastor, you know, in religion and repeating it. And you don't get in trouble for basketball, like stealing different knowledge from the game of basketball. And we was able to learn something like that from Alvin Brooks, and Coach Tang is using it, and it's helped our program immensely. And Shark Week is like no other. It pushes you to the limit. It pushes you to a discomfort, uncomfort, mentally, physically, socially, because you don't want to socialize with anybody while you're in Shark Week. So it just pushes you to a limit that you don't even think that you can get to.
Well, Coach, I'd ask you this because obviously you lose a lot of guys last year from last year's squad going to the NBA and going their own route. I'm curious with the guys you've brought in. Would you talk about the new additions to the transfer portal? You've obviously got, you know, a couple of guys to talk about there in the portal, but I'm interested to see how they've taken to Kansas State and how that fit's been so far.
It's been amazing. They really love our family atmosphere. They appreciate us because the same person and people we were in recruiting were even the same person after the honeymoon stage is over. You know, we're telling them the truth. We're coaching them hard, but we're also loving them, having Sunday dinner, spending time with them outside of the basketball court. And I think they just appreciate us telling them the truth every single day, and they're getting better. I mean, it's fun to have all these new guys in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got to talk a little bit to Tyler Perry at Big 12 Media Days, and obviously all three of the guys got there. Arthur was there, David Gasson as well. I'm curious this. I asked Scott Drew for his opinion on this question, and he didn't really give me a set answer. With you guys, there's got to be so many different card games, you know, ping pong outings, and all the different individual games. I asked a question asking if it was Scott Drew, Grant McCaslin, or Coach Tang, which of those three would be the best. And I didn't get much in terms of a specific answer. Let me turn this to Kansas State. Is this a Coach Tang guy at the top of this, or is it a you thing? Who is the best in terms of the overall party games and the competition things like ping pong, like darts? You had to pick someone.
Well, Coach Urich was actually number one in ping pong, but he got beat by Coach Anthony Winchester, aka A-Dub Bang Bang.
Yes, sir.
He got beat by him. So right now, Coach Dub is the champion in ping pong. RP, Coach Rodney Perry, he is the best golfer on staff. I'm the best cook on staff.
Let's go.
Coach Tang is the best pastor on staff. And let's see, Bailey is the best dress. Carp and Frankie have the best sneakers. And Marco is the best dancer on staff.
Mark, I see the TikToks every so often, man.
And Phil is the strongest. He's the strongest on staff, our strength coach.
Yep.
And Luke is the calmest on our staff.
That's an interesting answer. I love that.
And that's our trainer. Yeah, that's our trainer.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, I'm kind of curious. And also, before I ask my next question, let me give a quick shout out. Shout out Carp. Happy birthday today. Austin Carpenter, I believe. Saw a birthday announcement. I think it was today.
Absolutely, yeah. He turned 26.
That's great, man. Doing so many great things already early in his life, and he's got so many great role models around him, as well as being a role model for people in the community as fans, as coaches, as everybody players. So huge shout out to him real quick. There's one guy specifically I want to ask about because it's not that he doesn't get enough love, because that's just not a thing at Kansas State. Everybody gets their fair share and nobody needs the credit. It's just still a quote from Chris Clyde the other day. A guy that I think is going to have a big rocket to the top is a guy like Jerrell Colbert. Jerrell has been working his tail off. Obviously last year didn't see the court a ton, red shirts, and then comes out and he's continued to put work in the weight room and get to this point. He's standing there now looking like a double machine. Coach, can you talk about how much work he's done to get to the point where he's at right now?
Well, first off, Coach Marco has been leading the charge on Jerrell Colbert. We all work with him, but Coach Marco has really, honed in on him, because he had a guy like Craig Monroe, who was the #1 player in the country that went to Georgetown, was the first-round draft pick. And Jerrell reminds him a lot of him in a lot of ways, but he's maturing. He's gaining his confidence back. Let's not forget, Jerrell was a top 20 player coming out of high school, and he came out of high school at the age of 17. He started college at the age of 17. So he's still young, and he will play in that 3-letter league one day.
That's great, man. He is a guy that radiates confidence as a player. Like, he's gotten to the point where it's not that he was lacking in confidence, but that was kind of the conversation, is if you can get this guy in, get him some more reps, get him some more experience, he's going to really start to pay dividends for the program. So I wanted to bring him up real quick. Now, one thing that I don't think anybody in the world would ask is, who is the leader at Kansas State? Everyone feels like a leader, and there's a ton of leadership to go around. But I'm curious, when you lose a guy like Marquise Noel, a guy like Keontae Johnson, Desi Sills, you lose a lot of guys from last year. Has there been one guy, a group of guys, has the whole team kind of taken that chip on their shoulder to say, all right, I got to speak up in this moment?
I'm being honest. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for this, but we're taking applications right now. You know, we want guys to consistently work every day, be a leader. Right now, Coach wants guys to love the guy to the left and to the right of them more than they love themselves. And, that's going to create 15 leaders, and we're okay with that. We're okay with having 15 leaders. But right now, the message Coach is sending to the guys in the program is love the guy to the left and the right of you more than you love yourself, so that they can turn it to do it for somebody else and create a bond, a love, a passion that just equates to winning.
That's great, Coach. I got 2 more questions for you here, then I'll let you get out of here.
All right.
Let me ask here. Now, it's no secret how tight this coaching staff is. Everybody loves each other, one another, and there's such a conversation about the love in the air at Kansas State that is truly, you can feel it walking around campus. It's the reason I went to K-State when I went a couple of years back, and it really affected me. But Coach Tang talked at Big 12 Basketball Media Days, and he talked about you specifically, saying there's not many people in the world like Coach Ream. I'd ask if you just wanted to talk about your relationship with Coach Tang, how much the guy means to you as a leader, as a friend, as a mentor, in that sense.
I love him, and I love his family unconditionally. I would do anything for them. Whatever I have to do for them to be successful, to be safe, whatever. I just love him immensely. Coach was in my life before anybody knew who I was. He remained true to me, and I fell in love with him when I met him 16, 17 years ago. I just won a junior college national championship game, and I thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. I thought I was John Thompson, and I was like, yo, Coach, when you get a job, you gonna hire me? And his answer to me was like, no, I got people ahead of you. And I fell in love with that, where most people would tell you, yeah, I got you, I'm gonna hire you. And I never felt the way, because he told me no, he wouldn't hire me 16, 17 years ago. And then the conversation changed as we built the relationship, because I wasn't building a relationship to get a job, because he told me he wasn't going to hire me. I was building a relationship because I saw how he lived his life. I saw how he operated when his wife wasn't around. I saw how he carried himself when he was by himself and, just working when nobody could see him working. I saw him in that element. I probably spent the night in a room with Coach, the proper like in a double bedroom where we've been on foreign tours. We probably spent over 200 nights in the same room. So I've gotten to see Coach and be around him when he can be vulnerable, and what you see is what you get. And I fell in love with him, and he means so much to me, man. He means so much to me and my family, and I just want to see him be successful, and that's why we promote him. That's why we love him. And like Coach Urick said, he said it best. We all as a staff might not be best friends, but we're also connected to Coach Tang through his heart, that we all have that heart connection because we love him so much. So that's why our staff clicks, because we all love Coach Tang. So we all work well together because we love Coach Tang.
That's great. I just wanted to ask you about that relationship. Now, and I should say this, taking that from your story, it's also got to be kind of motivating as well to hear, like, obviously the transparency is one thing, but to hear, hey, I've got other people ahead of you. You got to keep putting the work in. And I think that's something this staff has preached, is that, rent's due every day, to use an old cliche, but you guys are really, writing those checks and delivering on the work. So I definitely want to give a shout out for that. But last question here, and one Coach Tang kind of talked about it at Basketball Media Days as well. There was the recent trip to Colorado, meeting with Coach Prime, getting the Prime blenders. We saw the three guys rocking the Prime blenders around at Big 12 Media Days. Would you talk me through that experience and what you specifically learned as either a coach, as a person, or just if the experience was a great one? Would you talk about that for a second?
Absolutely. Deion Sanders and his staff is really who they say they are. They're not doing what they're doing for clickbaits. They're doing it to promote their brand, to recruit kids and show the realness of their program. And it's just who they are. I mean, I don't think Deion Sanders need any cameras. He's been in the camera his whole life when he's been playing sports. He actually played on my favorite baseball team, the Braves. And, they're doing what they're doing and we're doing what we're doing. And we're both doing a hell of a job doing it. And as exciting as it was for us to meet Deion, it was exciting for their staff to meet Coach Tang as well. So the respect was mutual. And we just wanted to continue to build because, again, we want to get Kansas freaking State to a global brand, not just a stateside brand.
That's great, Coach. Well, let me say this before I get you out of here. Thank you for all the work you do, man. I mean, everybody on that coaching staff deserves their flowers, and I appreciate you guys not only putting on for the basketball team, putting a good product on the court, but putting on for the community, for the town, for Manhattan, Kansas, and representing every day. So I appreciate you for doing this. Also, let me get the quick outro here. Weatherman Reem, Maestro Doom, one of the all-around great dudes in college basketball. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you, man. This was a high-level interview. Your questions were excellent. I don't know who canceled on a previous interview for you to interview me, but I'm glad they did. And, man, go Cats.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
All right.